أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
One night he saw a star, and he said, "This is my Lord." But the star set. He said, "I do not like things that set." Then he saw the moon. He said, "This is my Lord." But when it set, he said, "Unless my Lord guides me, I shall surely be of the people gone astray." Then he saw the sun rising. He said, "This is my Lord. This is the greatest of all." But when it set, he said, "O my people, I am indeed free from your guilt of giving partners to Allah." Ibrahim alayhi salam was a Hanif, and early in his life used the wisdom bestowed on him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and reason to come to the conclusion that there is only one God. He saw evidence that everything in creation renders worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because everything is Allah's creation. As Muslims, we are not to rank the prophets one above another. They're all equal. They form one Muslim brotherhood. However, there are 5 mentioned in the Holy Quran who endured such hardships where their character was questioned, their mettle was tested, but their belief in their faith did not waver. Noah alayhi salam, Musa, Moses alayhi salam, Isa, Jesus alayhi salam, Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Ibrahim, Abraham alayhi salam. Personally, I love the narrations regarding Ibrahim. Some of my favorite surahs from the Quran are of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses wisely from among his creation to become Nabi, prophets, for he knows our hearts, each and every one of us, and Ibrahim alayhi salam was pure of heart, even as a young child. As a young child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gifted him with intelligence and fortitude, which he needed as he was born amongst a community of idol worshippers. Even those close to him in blood worshipped false idols, for which they made with their own hands. Next, the story of the Nabi, prophet, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called a friend, and the one universally regarded as a Hanif, Ibrahim, Abraham alayhi salam. Hello, and welcome back to The Conversation Piece with your host, Aquila. Ibrahim alayhi salam was born in what is now called Iraq. The community there was ruled by a powerful king, King Nimrod. This king thought of himself as a god. Also, Abraham's father used to carve wooden idols and sell them. Ibrahim, even as a young boy, saw this as futile, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him early with wisdom and guidance.
ولقد آتينا إبراهيم رشده من قبل وكنا به عالمين.
Surah 21, Ayah 51. And indeed, we bestowed aforetime on Ibrahim his portion of guidance, and we were well acquainted with him as to his belief in the oneness of Allah. The people also worship celestial bodies, the stars and the cosmos, for which they like to argue with Abraham alayhi salam. But he always used logic, wisdom, and faith against them.
وحاجه قومه قال أتحاجوني في الله وقد هدان ولا أخاف ما تشركون به إلا أن يشاء ربي شيئا وسع ربي كل شيء علما أفلا تتذكرون.
Surah 6, ayah 80 through 83. His people disputed with him. He said, "Do you dispute with me concerning God, and he has guided me? I fear not what you associate with him. Nothing can happen to me unless my Lord wills it. My Lord embraces all things in his knowledge. Will you not remember? Why should I be afraid of your idols when you're not even afraid of worshiping them without any authority from heaven? Which of the two parties has more right to security? Tell me if you know." It is those who believe and confuse not their beliefs with wrong. They are in true security and rightly guided. That was our argument which we gave Abraham against his people. We raise by degrees whom we will. Indeed, your Lord is wise and knowing. Ibrahim was called a Hanif. A Hanif is a true believer, a true monotheist, one who does not associate or worship anything or anyone other than the one true God. So the notion that his father carved statues, sold these statues, and then worshipped these statues bothered him greatly.
واتل عليهم نبأ إبراهيم إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ما تعبدون قالوا نعبد أصناما فنظل لها عاكفين قال هل يسمعونكم إذ تدعون أو ينفعونكم أو يضرون قالوا بل وجدنا آباءنا كذلك يفعلون قال أفرأيتم ما كنتم تعبدون أنتم وآباؤكم الأقدمون فإنهم عدو لي إلا رب العالمين.
Surah 26, ayah 69 through 76. And recite to them the story of Abraham, when he said to his father and his people, "What do you worship?" They said, "We worship idols, and to them we are ever devoted." Abraham said, "Do they hear you when you call on them? Or do they benefit you, or do you harm?" He said, "Do you observe that which you have been worshiping, you and your ancient fathers?"
إذ قال لأبيه يا أبت لم تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا يا أبت إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك فاتبعني أهدك صراطا سويا.
Surah 19, ayah 42. When he said to his father, "O my father, why do you worship that which hears not, sees not, and cannot avail you in anything?" His father replied, Surah 19, ayah 46.
قال أراغب أنت عن آلهتي يا إبراهيم لئن لم تنته لأرجمنك واهجرني مليا.
Do you reject my gods, O Abraham? If you do not stop, I will indeed stone you. So get away from me safely before I punish you. Imagine being rejected by family. But the stories of the Nabi have this in common. Adam alayhi salam, one of his sons, Cain, was a disbeliever. Noah alayhi salam had a son who disobeyed and was drowned in a flood. And Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, had an uncle as an enemy, and his own tribe, the Quraysh, they stood against him. Ibrahim alayhi salam did not let his father's words deter him. One day, when his community was away, he smashed all the idols to bits with an axe. He left the biggest one unbothered. Upon finding their idols broken into pieces, they were confused as to who among them would have the audacity to tarnish their gods in this manner.
قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم قالوا فأتوا به على أعين الناس لعلهم يشهدون قالوا أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا يا إبراهيم قال بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون فرجعوا إلى أنفسهم فقالوا إنكم أنتم الظالمون ثم نكسوا على رؤوسهم لقد علمت ما هؤلاء ينطقون قال أفتعبدون من دون الله ما لا ينفعكم شيئا ولا يضركم أف لكم ولما تعبدون من دون الله أفلا تعقلون.
Surah 21, ayah 60 through 67. They said, "We heard a youth talk of them. He is called Abraham." They said, "Bring him before the eyes of the people, that they may bear witness." They said, "Are you the one that did this to our gods, O Abraham?" Abraham said, "No, this was done by their biggest one. Ask them if they can speak intelligently." So they turned to themselves and said, "Surely you're the one in the wrong." Then they were confounded with shame. They said, "You know full well these idols do not speak." Abraham said, "Do you then worship, besides Allah, things that can neither be of any good to you, nor do you harm? Fie upon you, and upon the things that you worship besides Allah. Have you no sense?" Their ignorance, their shame, was exposed by Ibrahim alayhi salam. And instead of finding any rationality and humility with themselves, they decided to punish him. In fact, kill him. Ibrahim alayhi salam was messing with their sources of income, as these idols were sold. These people thought that these idols were magic and brought them prosperity and happiness and riches. His own father turned against Ibrahim. Imagine the depravity, the loss of soul, to plan to kill your own kin. They decided to burn Ibrahim alayhi salam in a fire.
قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم إن كنتم فاعلين.
Surah 21, ayah 68. They said, "Burn him and protect your gods if you do anything at all." Ibrahim alayhi salam was a Hanif, a true believer. He knew in his heart his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not dissipate, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always looked out for Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew Ibrahim as a believer. Surah 21, ayah 69 through 70.
قلنا يا نار كوني بردا وسلاما على إبراهيم وأرادوا به كيدا فجعلناهم الأخسرين.
We said, "O fire, be you cool and a means of safety for Abraham." And they wanted to harm him, but we made them the worst losers. Ibrahim alayhi salam, according to narrations, was able to walk out of the fire and escape. He escaped at the time with his nephew, Lut alayhi salam. His survival of the fire reached King Nimrod, who wanted to meet with him. King Nimrod thought himself a god and was highly arrogant. Ibrahim alayhi salam was always conscious, pure, and rightly guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when in the presence of King Nimrod, he challenged him in his authority. King Nimrod even brought in prisoners and killed one and spared one to try and prove to Ibrahim alayhi salam his power. Surah 2, ayah 258.
ألم تر إلى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه أن آتاه الله الملك إذ قال إبراهيم ربي الذي يحيي ويميت إذ قال إبراهيم ربي الذي يحيي ويميت قال أنا أحيي وأميت قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأت بها من المغرب فبهت الذي كفر والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين.
Have you considered him, Nimrod, who disputed with Ibrahim about his Lord because Allah had given him the kingdom? When Ibrahim said, "My Lord is he who gives life and death," he said, "I give life and death," said Ibrahim. "But it is Allah that causes the sun to rise from the east. Do you then cause it to rise from the west?" Thus was he confounded, who in arrogance rejected faith. Nor does Allah give guidance to an unjust people. Ibrahim alayhi salam was again victorious. He was spared from the fire and made a king look foolish. He was, however, in danger against a king with an ego. This did not stop him from trying to reach his people about worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After realizing that the people were still angry and turning against him, he left with his wife Sarah alayhi salam and his nephew Lut alayhi salam. Surah 29, ayah 26.
فآمن له لوط وقال إني مهاجر إلى ربي إنه هو العزيز الحكيم.
And Lut had faith in him. He said, "I will leave home for the sake of my Lord, for he is exalted in might and wise." The Conversation Piece podcast can now be found on YouTube. Go to www.youtube.com/@Aquila B. Lynch, AQUILABLINCH. I have a favor to ask you. If you can, real quick, hit the follow button wherever you're getting this podcast so you'll be notified when I drop a new episode. Also, like, comment, and share because sharing is caring. Thank you.